What we're saying here is that if it already started to form the embryo inside the egg, and it has a hole in it, and you're able to touch the inside, so if you remember, these 8 types of shratzim give off, impart tumah to anyone that touches it when they're dead. We're saying that in the egg, if you're able to touch this egg, it's going to make a person tameh. That's why it has to tell me. Why does it have to tell me it's the egg of a sheret? Well, there's the halachas of tumah there. Amar Rava. I'm sorry, the Maskefla Ravina. Ravina asks, this has to be the earlier Ravina. Yeah, probably even earlier than the one on this chart. In this chart we have one. He says, V'dilma de nachashi. Maybe it's the egg of a snake, and snakes don't impart tumah if you touch them. If they're dead and you touch them, it doesn't give off a tumah. There's only 8 shratzim that the Torah lists. Ela Rava, rather Rava says, she'im rikma v'achla like ela. Mishum sheretz ha-sheretz al-aretz. Says that if you eat it, and you were warned that this is one of the shratzim, then you get malchus.
What is rikma?
Rikma means that it literally means woven, but what it means to say is that the embryo is beginning to develop. So it's not just an egg; it's already has the form in it. So here, what we're saying is, why do we need to know which prohibition it is? Because when a person is warned for committing a sin, the warning contains the prohibition that the person's violating. Gemara says, if that's the case, my yerya d'tmeya, why do we have to say that it's something that's a non-kosher species that the person needs to be warned about? Afilu d'tayr nami. What about a kosher bird that has an embryo in it? You allowed to eat that? That's a problem also. The Tanya, kol asheretz asheretz al aretz. Anything that's creeping on the earth, it says kol asheretz asheretz al aretz. That's including l'Rabbi sefreichem shlei niftchu einayim. That's referring to young birds that didn't open their eyes yet. Now, does that mean that it's in the egg? Possibly. So there should be malchus for that as well. The Gemara says actually eating that is only midrabanan, ukras machta ba'alma. Now, I'm not sure if l'Rabbi sefreichem shlei niftchu einayim is referring to a rabbinic prohibition on birds that are already hatched. I think it's referring to the birds that are already hatched, but for whatever reason their eyes aren't open yet.
So
I think, what does it say? That some birds...
So bird every comes to include newly hatched chicks whose eyes have not yet opened.
Okay. Now what about in the egg itself?
He says you learn from that the embryo.
And from that so eating an embryo is only rabbinic according to this. What about the blood in it? Is the blood also only rabbinic? This is a good question for a smicha student. What's the prohibition of eating an egg with the embryo or a blood spot there? Is it a biblical prohibition? And what category does it go under? It's not milk and meat. It's not a non-kosher animal.
Well, isn't blood part of the animal, halakhically?
Yeah. So the
it's
blood.
Meat, so it's meat.
I would say
the
no.
animal
I would
is
say
meat,
it's not a
right?
the rice. I would say it's
From
not
this, it looks like it's rabbinic, right?
because the deraisa is blood from an animal that's an animal or from whatever.
Are you saying the blood itself is not a deraisa?
No.
So what if you take away the blood? If it'll take it away, it should be okay.
The blood did not come
Right.
from an animal
Right, that we'll see
that
in
was
a minute.
formed yet.
Okay.
It didn't come from an animal that was formed yet.
What did you want to say? The blood is the blood is the animal, so therefore.
And the animal is fleshik.
Oh, so you want to say that blood is flesh? No, I have a proof not like that.
Okay.
My proof is it's not a very good proof, but the last Maram Shif in he says that that you could be lenient on liver, that it doesn't make you fleshik because liver is only blood; it's not really meat. Now everyone says don't rely on that. No, don't trust that Maram Shif. The commentaries say, but whatever the case about the liver, but whatever the case is, blood would not be meat.
I thought the problem with blood is it came from the animal hasn't been checked.
Right.
You can't eat it.
Right,
I
but
thought
is
that
that
was
is that
the
a problem
issue.
of eating blood, or is that a problem of eating a nevela?
It says Kehadam or a nefesh.
Uh-huh.
Only dam that comes from a nefesh, like a completed, it has a problem. The other is midarabana.
Okay. Okay. But by the way, I should clarify that if we're discussing it, the commentaries probably have each of our opinions. That's usually how it works. When you look into it, you'll see that every person is really, without knowing it, is quoting an earlier commentary.
You're very generous. Thank you.
So, the Gemara answers that it's midrabanan across machta b'alma, that the verse is just a support. It's not actually in the verse that says that it's a biblical prohibition. Okay, so therefore eating these eggs, this is a problem, because these are non-kosher embryos. But if it would be a kosher bird with an embryo, that would only be rabbinic. There would be no lashes for that. Tana Rabbanan. The rabbis taught in a brisa, Geulei beitzim mutaris. Okay, Rashi says this is talking about boiled eggs that are not kosher, together with kosher eggs. You're allowed to eat the kosher eggs. You remember something like this from Smicha? Remember a Taz? There's a discussion in the Taz about if the shell of the egg is porous, it allows the flavor to get through. But here we're saying that no, the flavor is just water. That's how Rashi learns. Taisvus quotes the Aruch. The Aruch says that that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about cooking eggs here. We're talking about if someone bangs a bird and the egg pops out, do we say that that's Aver Menachai because it came out earlier than it would have, and that's considered a piece off a living? And it's coming to tell us here, this Geulei Beitzim Mutaris says that it's not considered Aver Menachai. Okay, Beitzim Muzaris, that means unfertilized eggs. Nefesh Yafa Teichlin. If someone with a good soul, what does that mean? That he's not finicky. He doesn't get disgusted easily. So Teichlin, he could eat them. It means it's kosher, and if you can handle it, eat it. Nimtza le'akaret dam. Let's say there's a blood spot. Zurek esadam va'ichel esashar. You throw away the blood and you eat the rest. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah says v'ushin nimtza al kesher shala. That's only if it's on the knot of the egg. What's the knot of the egg? I'm imagining that if you open the egg, you see there's like a little sort of a string, a sort of.
Boy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is really interesting. So here, we have two knots. We have the knot of the chelmain, of the yolk. That I'm familiar with. There's always like a little round spot somewhere on it. Then, you have on both ends, you have a knot of the white, of the albumin. Okay. So, if the blood is there, there's two ways of learning this, as we're going to see. Then you take out the blood.
But if it's not there?
If it's not, then everything else is usher.
That's according to Rabbi Yirmiyah.
Yeah, at least that's how Rashi learns. Tani Dustoi Avud Rav Turiki. Dustoi taught the father of Rav Turiki, Loishano, this was only taught El Shinin. I don't think it's on the track. This is only if it's found al chelbain shalah. That's only if it's on the white. Aval nimtza al chelbain shalah, but if it's on the yolk, afilu beitz asur, the whole egg is asur. My timer, what's the reason? The shadi tichla b'chula. Rashi learns that they're saying the same thing. Tosfos has a different way of learning this, but okay. Shadi tichla b'chula means that the entire egg began to rot. Now, let's just go a drop further, and then Amalei Rav Gavia mi Sil Rav Ashi. Rav Gavia mi Sil tells to Rav Ashi, Ibcha Tanitana Kamei da Abaya, that this was taught exactly the opposite in front of Abaya. Abaya hu detirtzan alei, and Abaya taught it the way that we just said it. That if it's on the yellow, if it's on the yolk, then the entire egg is usher. If it's on the white, then you just take it out. Okay. It's very interesting because it turns out that there is really a machlokes about if you're allowed to take out the blood spot or if you have to throw away the whole egg. When I first was learning for smicha, so one of the rabbis was explaining to me the concept of hefsed meruba, that sometimes something becomes we allow it because it's a big loss. Is it kosher or not? How does it? And anyway. So one of the examples that he was using was that in Israel, Rav Avad Yosef said that if you find a blood spot in the egg, you can take out the blood spot. And in America, Rav Moshe Feinstein, he said you throw away the egg. So of course it's already in Shulchan Aruch, but so he was saying that in Israel the eggs were more expensive. So he said you take it out, and in America the eggs were cheaper, so he said throw it out. That was the example that he was using, but I believe that there's other factors there, because there's actually the Ashkenazim are more machmer regarding a blood spot in the egg. We say shadi tichla bekula, and the Sfardim have a more lenient view that you can actually take it out. So, but you have to ask exactly how they're.
But when we go in the supermarket and buy a dozen eggs, again, they're non-fertilized eggs, so there's almost never a blood spot at home. But if you go buy a dozen organic eggs, almost everyone can have a blood spot. There'll be, all of a sudden you buy a dozen eggs and throw out 10.
We found that.
Conclusion: you don't buy
We found that
No, I'm saying that's
the
the
brown
problem with
eggs,
organic eggs.
have more blood spots. That's usually the
And then it would be great hefsed. You bought a dozen, you have to throw out 11.
right.
Places like after the army, I spent a few weeks in Greece, and it's very rare to find white eggs there. And we ran out of kosher food, and
They're all
the blood house, so
Everyone had a blood
I bought
Oh my God.
48
That's crazy.
eggs, brown eggs, and I only got like
Who's sponsoring
6 of them
eggs?
that didn't have blood in them.
For breakfast.
Goldie, you don't.
And whatever,
6 out of 48 eggs.
Comes to what, $5?
We're kosher
After
from brown eggs.
and we were rare to find white eggs.
6 out of 48 eggs.
Yeah,
Okay. Should I stop here?
Quail eggs. Have you ever
Throw it
eaten
out.
quail eggs?
Okay, maybe I should stop here because this is a new piece that will take us through it. To
I saw you learned the piece of Rabbi Yechanan with the shalach.
Yeah.
You told everybody what the Alter Rebbe said?
No.
What?
I didn't say.
It was a famous thing that he came to Shklo. And I don't know if you want to show it.
You want? No, let's leave it on.
Yes. Come on, no, we want to hear.
So they came to him and they said that one of the big problems they had with the way of the Baal Shem Tov is the concept that Hashgacha Pratis goes on everything, including a leaf that falls, and they had a big problem with that. So they asked him, where does this new invention comes from? Where does the concept that Hashgacha Pratis comes from? And he told them it's a Mefersha Gemara. And they were all stumped. We're talking about people who would sit and study day and night for 50 years. That's all they would do all their lives. They would sit and study Gemara. And he told them it's a Mefersha Gemara Hashgacha Pratis. And they were all stumped. And he quoted them Rabbi Yechanan. What did he say? When he would see the shalach, when he would see the bird that would catch the fish, he would say Mishpatecha Techaim Rabba, which means your judgment reaches even the depth of the water. That means that fish Hashem had in mind that that fish would get caught by that bird. So the Hashgacha Pratis exists on every aspect, every creature.
I didn't know that was a statement from the Alter Rebbe. When I learned it, I commented. When we learned it, I commented. I said, "This looks like a proof to the Baal Shem Tov."
Right.
But I didn't know that Alter Rebbe actually said that.
that.